Okay, so I'm going to do the morning commute test. We're not going to follow the GPS right now because that's not the route that I want to take. It would be nice if we could one day like paint the route that we want or something like that, but it's fine. So I actually did this test yesterday, and I had the GoPro plugged into my microphone box thing, and the box thing was plugged into the USB port on the center console, and for some reason this arrangement caused the microphone to not work. So I have no audio from my drive yesterday. So I have some experiences from yesterday that were quite interesting. But I didn't really want to publish a video with no audio. I might clip in some bits from yesterday if it seems relevant, but right now my impression is that that's not going to be necessary. So this is just the same test that I did a couple videos ago. I want to have a standard route so that we can judge FSD. It's a fairly simple trip, all things considered. Pretty straightforward. And it does make quite a lot of mistakes. So it's also useful for determining if versions change any of the behavior. So far, from my testing, I don't really see any changes for the better with 10.4, and I didn't really see any differences with 10.3.1 compared to 10.2, for example. So I'm not really seeing a whole lot of progress, but maybe that'll come. Alright, now we're on the path. So the Central Avenue, which we'll be crossing over, is raised, and you really have to slow down for it. Because we have cars in front of us, if they're going straight as well, they're going to slow down, and so FSD is going to slow down for it. But I am curious as to what FSD would do if there were no cars in front of us, and maybe we'll get to test that since we didn't make this light. I also want to highlight, I'm pretty happy with the yellow light sort of logic. Sometimes the light does turn red when you're through the intersection, but that's okay. I have no problems with that. Sometimes it does go when I wouldn't go, but like I said, as long as the light's not red as I enter the intersection, then it's fine. Okay, so far it looks like we're not going to have any cars in front of us. So we'll get to see if FSD can judge the height of the road and slow down like it would for a speed bump. I don't think it will. Last time I tested this, it did not. So I guess we'll see. So obviously it was not aware of that. Okay, let's see if it does this turn. Not great, but like, it didn't waffle around too much. It should definitely have accelerated a bit more than that, but it's not a big deal. Again, the results vary between versions and within the same version. So it's really hard to determine if there's any actual progress in any particular way, because you can test something with FSD and then 5 minutes later do the exact same test and the results could be different, and I see that a lot, even within the version. So yesterday when I did that left turn, it was a little more waffly. Today it was a little better. It seems to depend on any number of arbitrary variables, as to how well FSD is going to execute or how well it's going to identify an object. That's why I'm like pretty hesitant to ascribe success to anything until I can test it multiple times at various times of day. So we've got a car up here. It doesn't have to like go around or anything, so that's fine. So it always freaks out for this crosswalk. It did start to slow down a little bit. It actually, okay, so yesterday it really did not like that intersection like it usually doesn't, or that crosswalk, and like freak us out, slows down really hard. Today it did fine. Again, this I don't want to ascribe success to that, or I don't want to ascribe that to success or anything like that, to improvement. I'll have to test again, probably tomorrow or some other day. It always likes to change lanes in this intersection. It doesn't seem to be trying to right now. I think that largely has to do with whether there's a car in front or not. Sort of swerving a little bit for some reason back there. I suspect it's going to try and get around this truck. Yeah, it wants to. It really wants to. It thought about it. Don't go that wide. There's literally a car right next to us. So yesterday it changed into the middle lane, right around here. Let's see if it does that again today. Yeah, it wants to. I've got a car right next to me, so it's probably not going to try until that car clears. Seems to have given up on the whole changing lanes notion. Let's see if that thought comes back. We really do need to get out of this lane. Eventually this lane is going to become a right turn only, but also we're going to have all this traffic turning right. I would really prefer that the car hangs out in the middle lane rather than the right lane. But I don't want to intervene, because if the car isn't doing something correctly, then the car isn't doing something correctly. I don't want to help it. That's not full self-driving, that's driver assistance. Oh, okay. It started to move the wheel. I don't love changing lanes near intersections like that, and I don't know what it was doing. It started to yank the wheel to the left way more than it needed to. Sort of felt like it was aiming for the leftmost lane. I'm not sure what the UI would have shown, because I wasn't looking at it at the time. To murder a bug on my windshield. Okay. Like, why? So something that I had mentioned yesterday while I was doing the drive, because yesterday it had swerved to the right like it was trying to make a turn that it shouldn't have. I've noticed that with 10.4 a lot, is that it seems to just, for some reason, randomly take roads that aren't part of the plan. It just goes for roads, and sort of abruptly out of the blue at significant speed. It's quite jarring. I have had similar things happen on 10.2 and 10.3, so it's not new behavior, but it does seem like it happens more frequently with 10.4. I've also noticed it seems like it might be more sensitive about shadows, more sensitive of shadows, whatever the correct verbiage would be for that sentence. Like it swerved quite abruptly and quite harshly for the shadow of a lone tree a few days ago. And I've also noticed it brakes really hard sometimes when there's shadows in the road. Interesting. So it usually starts to slow down for that intersection, and it didn't this time. It did yesterday. So again, this requires more testing. It could just be the lighting. I haven't driven in this particular lighting. It's overcast, cloudy. Typically it's quite sunny when I do the test, so the car just drives better when it's a little bit cloudy. I think that might be a contrast thing. It might just be able to see things a little bit better in this lighting than in really harsh, bright sunlight. I've noticed in really harsh, bright sunlight, at a particular time of day, about an hour from now, on a street near my house, it does not see the lane lines at all. It will literally drive. It'll bisect itself along the lane line on the road that I live on. It's a 4-lane road, 2 lanes on either side, and it will drive happily along the dotted line. I don't know if that's new, because I hadn't driven in the previous versions at that time of day with that lighting on that road. But it is interesting, and kind of tells me that they don't quite have the lane marking identification down quite yet. So we're going to actually want to cancel, and then we'll head on home. Okay, so it wants to, yeah. I'm gonna have to get over for it. So yesterday, when I did this, it tried to turn, I think, either on this street or the street up ahead of us. Missed the turn entirely. It's like slowed down, tried to make it, and then it just stopped. Stop. Stop. I think it was this turn. Just gave up. We'll see if it can make this turn. Oh, maybe it was this one. Again, no. It still can't do that. So that's about what it did yesterday at that turn. And that's so I had this commentary yesterday as well. It's interesting. I thought, so in my previous test, the previous video that I did of this for drive, it did the same thing, but I thought it was because there was a bus there. But no, it's just because it's bad. It's just bad at driving is the reason why it did that. So no change in that behavior, unfortunately. Yesterday it behaved the same at this intersection as it did in my last test as well. No change there. We'll see if anything is different today. Okay, I liked the roll, but we gotta go. It's struggling a little bit to figure out what it needs to do. A little uncertain. Just a little bit of wobble in the wheel. Going wide for some reason again there. Okay, can you pick a lane, friend? need to brake for that. They're in a different lane. I know you were uncertain about that car there, but he's obviously not going to go. I don't know what you're doing. For the noise. This road is basically a washboard. I don't think it really comes across in the video how bumpy this road is, but it's pretty bad. We paid money for this. Okay, so yesterday, while I was going through the intersection, it tried to dive to the left, similar to what it did earlier. Didn't do it that time, which is interesting. Try to dive to the left lane that time. Ooh. It started to go a little wide and then it corrected itself. I know that wouldn't show up on camera. The thing about FSD beta is that like at least 20 or 30% of how good it is or isn't is down to how it feels in person, because it's really hard for some of these things to show up on camera. Like little movements in the steering wheel or braking events sometimes don't translate to something that you can see on screen or something that you can see in the steering wheel. And if the car is planning on doing something that it shouldn't, like if it wants to dive for a lane, you can feel that in the wheel. You can feel how quickly it turns the wheel to get an idea of like how bad of a cock up it's about to make. Okay, I don't know why I did that. So like for something like a lane change, or you know, doing something reasonable, you can feel how quickly the steering wheel accelerates in either direction. And if it's going to dive for a lane, for example, it moves the wheel much faster, it accelerates much quicker, and you can feel that. You can feel that very quickly. And so sometimes you'll see a beta tester will disengage before it looks like anything dramatic happened, but you can tell as the driver that the car was about to make a huge mistake. Sometimes it'll show up in the UI, like you'll be able to see the tentacle is doing something really dumb. That's usually a good visual indicator, but the sort of danger and sort of feeling of it is much more substantial in person than what it looks like on screen. So it's never made this change here, this turn. It just doesn't, I guess it doesn't think it has enough room to get over. It's eventually going to have to figure that out. Something that I've noticed, that this is in my previous video, is that it really goes into a turn with the intention of going quickly through it, rather than just slowing down. Like a human would slow down for their turn regardless. I don't think humans, at least for me, I don't approach a turn with an intention of doing one thing or another. I assess it in real time. And FSD really just wants to go for it. So like making that turn in the previous video, from Park onto 5th Avenue, it's going really fast, and when it sees oncoming cars, it has to stop. Like it has to do an emergency brake to the point where the ABS is kicking in. That's not good. A human would approach that turn slowly, like we're gonna approach the turn and assess the situation as we get into it. Where FSD is just like, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go for it unless I absolutely cannot. And that logic really needs to change, because I don't want my brake pads and wheels wearing out that quickly. Also, I don't want someone to rear end me when the car just abruptly brakes. Should have no problem with this turn. It's a protected left, so it should do okay. Yep, it did great. Okay, so some interesting differences from the last drive being today, or yesterday, and also my last video. I'll have to do another drive to see if we can get some consistent results before we say the drive was good or not. That's all for now. I will potentially do another video tomorrow, although tomorrow's Saturday, so we won't have the kind of traffic and stuff that we have today, so maybe Monday. I want to keep it fairly consistent in terms of like how much other traffic there is. Yeah, it does that all the time at that. Okay. Anyways, let's see how it does this. It's always done okay with this turn. It doesn't do left turns here very well, but it does right turns okay. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, etc., etc.